Alright, I've got quite a few emails from people asking me how to fix the Cub Cadet LT 1045. I guess a lot of these tractors, the belts come off on them, and they either come off constantly or they just break. They get cut by the pulleys. There's one of my old pulleys there. I'll show you that in a bit. And I guess a lot of people, there is a recall on these, or I heard there was one, and some of the people that said they got it done said it still didn't fix it. The belt still kept coming off, had the same problem, and either people just went and bought a new mower or just kept taking it back or kept dealing with it. I mean, you can mow your lawn. We've got about 2 acres here, and your belt will come off 4 or 5 times while you're mowing. It's pretty annoying. So I'll go ahead and show you how to fix it, or how I fixed mine. There may be another way, but this way's worked out the best way for me. To get started, you want to go ahead and make sure, just get a big flathead screwdriver. Well, it doesn't have to be too big, just get a flat one. You can see these zip ties right here. I use quite a bit of those. Some measuring tape, your drill gun, some drill bits. Now, as far as the sizes of the drill bits, I'll go ahead and show you those later, just because I'm taking this back apart to kind of show you how I did it. But to get started, I'll show you how to take off the deck here. Most of you probably already know that, but I'll just go ahead and show you anyways, just in case there's somebody that doesn't know. Now, to take off this deck, what you'll do is you'll come down here. First thing, set your lever right here down to the lowest setting. And then what you'll want to do is you'll want to reach down underneath right here and grab onto this little hook right here and pull it out. Now, sometimes these get kind of jammed in there. Looks like this one is. So I'll try and get it from the other side first. And if you can't get them off, one of the things that you can do is you get some WD-40 and use a screwdriver to pop them off. That's what this flathead screwdriver is kind of useful for. Hang on a second. Alright, so you kind of pop it off like that. And I always pull it off on the other side first. I pull the deck towards the right side of the mower. I kind of set this right here. Sometimes I have to go back and forth as I pull it. I'll have to probably lift it up again off this side. Let me go back on the other side here. Sometimes just kind of move the deck a little bit over and then it'll pop off. And this one's being stubborn. So I'll come over here, grab my screwdriver, and we'll get in there. Okay, so I just got that one off. It was being a little bit stubborn. And like I said, you do kind of have to move the deck around a little bit to get that off sometimes. Now, when you're putting your screwdriver in here, just be careful that you don't stick it in there and you're prying on it like this. I put the camera down and I got one hand on each side of the screwdriver once it was through right here, and then just kind of pulled, and then just kind of moved the deck around. Sometimes they're a little bit stiff, so just kind of work with it. Now, the next thing what you want to do is you want to come up here and you'll look and you'll see the only other part of the deck that's connected is right here. And what you'll do is you'll just move the deck forward and then it should just pump out. Kind of lift one end up at a time. If you can get it. My deck's turned a little bit sideways where I was trying to get that last one off. So now we're off right there. Kind of move it back. And we're off both sides. Now, like I said, I always like to take it off the right side of the mower. So what you'll do is just turn this wheel all the way to the left here, and then make sure your belt is off. You probably have to move the deck forward a little bit. Make sure the belt's off of the PTO there, and then make sure nothing else is caught up. Now, you will have to make sure that these aren't caught up. Looks like that one on the other side is up high enough. So I'll just go ahead and pull this straight out. Gets a little caught there. Okay, so I'm going to take a second and clean this off. Alright, so I got the deck all cleaned off here. And you'll be able to recognize right away that my deck configuration is a little bit different than yours. You can see where I actually moved these apart right here, and I put an extra support spring here. But I will go through step by step and show you kind of how I did this and show you the measurements and so forth. Now, just keep in mind that this is the LT 1045 Cub Cadet, and I believe this is the 2007 version. There are two different variations of this deck for that year, and there's also another one for 2008. And I believe the only difference is they put some type of idler bracket in here, but it still didn't seem to do much. Didn't really seem to fix the problem, just because people were having that too much vibration and issues with the belts coming off. Now that is the main issue. That's why this belt's coming off, because these pulleys are misaligned. And if you look right here, in fact, there was so much vibration when this thing was running that it literally almost pulled all the way through here. So I went ahead and filled it in, welded that back on there. And you'll want to look through right underneath when you take your pulley off. I can't remember where the original hole is. I think it might be this one here. What you'll see is you have to look at the metal and make sure it's not cracked, or look for some stress lines, things like that. Mine actually pulled all the way through one day. And I had to go back through and I welded it down, or welded and grinded it back down. But it mainly probably came off because I had done a little bit of variation of this fix, but it wasn't quite, there was still a lot of vibration, so it pulled all the way through. So I'll go ahead and show you how to strengthen it up so it won't pull through. Now, speaking of vibration, this is the old idler pulley bracket. Now, we went ahead and reordered these parts. I actually reordered all these parts because I looked underneath and saw they were bent. I originally didn't know what was going on with it, and I thought the parts had just gotten bent somehow. But if you look right here, I didn't send these back. I used the other ones just because I didn't want to kind of deal with this thing right here. But this circle, this should just be a circle, but instead you can see where that spring pulled it almost all the way through. So, but luckily we figured out a fix to keep that vibration down. Now the first thing to do on this, I'll take this apart and kind of show you. Take off these. It's just going to be a lot easier. They're held down on three sides. I think it's a 3/8 bolt that goes in there. Just take those off, and that would give you a lot more flexibility. It'd be a lot easier in case you have to take this on and off. And we'll just go ahead and put those back on after you've got the deck all put together. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'm just going to remove everything and kind of put it back to what its original configuration looked like, just to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page here. Also, just make sure up underneath it here that your PTO pulley is all good. Usually they are, but just make sure that there's no crack, jagged edges in it, because that will cut your belt as well. But usually they're pretty good. And also, I believe that there is on the other side of these spindles. This would also be a good time if you haven't done it and you've run your mower for a while, that you can go ahead and there's some grease zerks on those, and you can actually lube those up. And I'll show you how to do that as well. All right, just a word of caution on this. When you do go ahead and take these off, you're going to have to flip this deck either all the way over or stand up on its end. I just kind of stand here like this usually. But whatever you do, don't let it fall back over, because these spindles and these pulleys are sticking up higher than the deck, and they will bend or they will break. Now, if you don't want to stand here and hold it with your legs like this, it is kind of a little bit uncomfortable, or it can be. Just find something to prop up underneath it here on these edges and lay it on its backside. Just don't let it drop, or you have somebody help you and hold it. And that way you won't be sorry. So right here, when you go to take these bolts and nuts off, this is where your screwdriver is going to come in handy. You just want to sit here and kind of scrape it off like that. Scrape around those nuts and bolts really well at the end of these bolts here. Okay, also on this I mentioned that there is a place that you can lubricate these spindles, the spindle assembly, and that's right here. So just clean that off really well and grease it up. And this one sounds like it might need a little bit. So I got those off, those two pulleys there. Now, what I had done, and I believe this was, I don't remember the exact configuration of how it was before, just because it's been 3 months since I did this and everything's all rusted over. But I believe this was the original mounting hole for the 2 idler brackets, and I actually drilled this one here, and there was a support spring that was attached to this, and if you look at that, you can kind of see where it had actually worn through on that side. And so I actually drilled and put it there. And I'll give you those measurements. I'll probably just have to give you the measurement from this hole to right here, or you'll just have to figure it out, because it's going to be kind of approximate. Now, I believe the original setup was something like this, and which actually made this pulley too low and this one a little bit too high, and they were kind of stacked on each other like that. So let me show you here if I can get this camera steadied. Just a second. Take that one off. Now, what I have done is you've got these underneath. Actually, one of mine was broken in half when I took it off the first time. But what you'll do is you'll use these on the bottom once you drill your hole. Put those there. Just put this on top. Now, what you want to do is go down to your parts store, and you want to get a washer that's this big. I don't remember what it is. I believe that it's a 3/8 inch hole. Okay. So there's some hardware that you're going to need to be able to use to get this all put together. And I measured these washers. They're about 1.5 inches across, and I believe they're 3/8. And then you've got 2 of these. These are 1.25 inches across, and they're also 3/8. And you'll need 4 of these. And these are 3/8. I believe these are 1.25 inches. Double check. I think this is the original package I had. I just found this. So these are grade 8. Make sure you get grade 8 for all this stuff, with the exception of the washers. And then this one right here, this bolt here is 1.75 inches long. Now you can see where I've taken 2 nuts all the way up to the top and tightened them against each other. And this is where you're going to put the spring that's going to go in this hole right here. And that's the hole, another hole that you're going to drill. So make sure you get all that stuff. These are quite a bit shorter than the ones that were originally in this hole right here. You want to get these for your 3/8 bolts here. Just get some of these. They'll lock on there pretty good. They should be the grade 8 as well. So this is basically how I got the original configuration, kind of figured out where to put these. Now when you do put these down, make sure you put this underneath, and then they're both at the same level. That way you won't have any problems with the belt coming off anymore. Now from here, from the edge of this circle to the center of this one, I took these off and just measured a second ago. It's 2 3/4. So that's basically, so from the edge of this hole, the original hole, to the center of this one, it's 2 3/4. And just to kind of show you from the edge where it goes, from the center of that hole to the bottom right here, it's about 3 inches, right there. And then from here, from the center of the hole, right to the corner here, where it starts to go down, that's about 9/16. That's about as close as I can tell you where to put it. And this one right here, there from. Now these are approximate, because depending on which spring replacement you get, because this is kind of the secondary support spring right here that you're going to measure and put in, it may change. It just depends on your spring, and if you do put in a secondary spring like I did. I just had one. I'd ordered 2 of them, or I'd ordered a replacement. On the other side of the deck here, looking at this, now you'll see that there's all these different holes. I drilled this hole right here, and I believe all the other ones are original holes. Now, from this hole to the center of this one, it's 1 1/8 inch right here, and you can see it's not too far from this one. And these are going to be approximate. It depends on which type of spring you've got. If you look over here, these are my springs. The one in the far right next to the idler pulley there, that was the original spring that was on here. I had reordered that one that you can see laying there, You may be able to just reorder directly from them, or if it's easier, if you can find a replacement around town. But